This is Sean with Project Education. Here's another talk with counselors and experts in how to become tougher through trauma.
All right, this is Sean Laser. I'm here with Damaris. How are you doing, Damaris?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Good. All right. And so you are a school social worker. Would you just introduce yourself and where you work and what you do?
Yes. So I am a school social worker for Broward County Schools. I've been servicing schools for about almost 20 years. And my experience has been mostly with elementary school. I've done some middle schools, but for the past, I would say 8 years, I've been at the elementary school level.
Okay. And what were some of the situations you were dealing with before the whole coronavirus thing started? What kind of caseload were you working through?
I think the majority for the past couple of years has been a real issues that we've been dealing with severe behavior, especially from the younger kids, like the kindergarten level. It seemed like a lot of the kids that are entering kindergarten they have severe behaviors. I mean, severe.
Okay. And so what are some of those behavioral challenges look like? How do they play out?
Just like anger, lack of self-control, just inattentiveness, lack of focusing, aggressive behavior. They don't follow direction. They defy authority, and it doesn't matter from who. I mean, it could be the school resource officer. They don't care. They just like, I'm tearing up the place, and I don't care who's in front of me.
Wow. Okay. I know you're over a couple different schools, so you probably couldn't spend a ton of time with each individual student. You had to do a lot of delegating, I'm guessing.
Right. And a lot of training the staff in preparing them, because when something may happen, you're not necessarily in the building. So it's kind of like equipping them to pretty much deal with it.
Okay. So more training for
right,
like Deescalation techniques.
Right.
Keep the school day moving smoothly.
Right.
All right. And so now what's your caseload look like now that there isn't school in session, not in a physical location, we're all online? What are the cases that you're dealing with, or the cases you're not dealing with that maybe you feel might be underreported?
Well, what I've been getting a lot of is just making sure that kids are engaged, that they are signing on, that those that have not been attending per se on a daily basis, getting a hold of the parents and just trying to figure out if there's any barriers as to why they're not attending. Is it an internet issue? Is it a computer issue? Is it a housing issue? Because if I don't, if I'm out in my car, I don't have internet, or I may not be able to log on. So it's getting those reports of the kids that have not been engaged and trying to get a hold of the parents and figure out what's happening.
Okay. And is there, how many students would you say that are having a hard time just even logging on and just starting the work? Is that a big issue?
Yeah. I mean, I think that some of it, I think initially the numbers were high, but the teachers kind of took the brunt of that if they felt like the parents wanted to do it, or the kids wanted, they just didn't know maybe how. It's always hard to disseminate information because some people are not as, they can't, they may read the instructions, but they may not be able to follow them necessarily. So it's like stuff gets lost. So then they're not doing it, and they didn't realize, okay, well, I'm skipping a step, or I'm not doing everything correctly, so therefore it's not accounting for what they're doing. So it's a little bit of that too. So now it's more of, maybe I would say maybe 1% of the school population, which is not terrible.
No, that's not bad. Okay.
But what I'm finding is a lot of the same kids that were not engaged before.
Okay.
So if you already had an attendance problem prior to the online learning, you're not attending now.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
If you were not engaged before, you're not engaged now.
Yeah. How about students that are admitting to challenges with anxiety or fear, or elementary students that don't know what that looks like or how that translates? Maybe some of it comes out in behavior.
Right.
But are you experiencing some of that?
Yeah, I think that a lot of maybe the guidance counselors, because things get sort of communicated through them. And a lot of times they're willing to try first on, an intervention, let's say, before it really gets to me. Mm-hmm. So I think that maybe most of the fifth graders, especially the high achievers, the ones that want to do well, the ones that now feel like it's a lot of work and maybe you don't have the organizational skills, and then you're feeling the anxiety because you want to end well, and maybe you don't have the person as closely, the teachers a lot of times are the ones that are, keep you organized or keep you on track. And maybe now the responsibility a lot falling on them, the students themselves. And maybe that's when they're seeing a lot of the anxiety.
Gotcha. When it gets to you, obviously it's already escalated. Mm-hmm. What are some of the techniques that you instruct them in? What do you do to help?
I think sometimes it's just kind of reminding them of what they can do and how much they have achieved in the past. Reminding them of, yesterday you had a challenge, you were able to conquer it. You can do it today too. Mm-hmm. And just again sometimes it's reminding them too that compared in the scale of things, that this is not the worst situation, mm-hmm. Just helping them to see the good in everything, the things that they have done and how they're handling it, how much they've already done, and just kind of bring them back to that reality.
Wow.
But sometimes it escalates to the point where, they may need just to kind of talk it out and, the breathing and taking time to take a break from it and, talk about it.
And do you think these students are implementing some of those breathing techniques?
Yes, I think so. I think the ones that are definitely the high achiever ones that they want to do well, I think that once you do teach them those techniques and they're able to master it, that they'll go back to it. And even some of the behavior kids, because even when I used to see them face to face, some of them is like, oh yes, I should breathe, and then they'll do it, So they some of them maybe not initially when they're in the midst, when you do teach them like, okay, this is when you do it now. Then they do go back to it, and they really go to their toolbox and figure out, okay, I must have something in here that will help me. It's there. It's in, sometimes it's like parents, we say stuff to our kids and we think that they're not listening, but deep down it's in there. It's just whether they're choosing to pull it out or not.
Yeah, that's good. How do you instruct them to breathe? Like, I know I do some deep breathing. It's really helped me. What are some of the tips you give these young kids?
Just kind of, take a deep breath, try to hold it, 5 seconds, and be conscious of, how your body feels, mm-hmm. where's the air, and then, push it back out, count again, and then, do it again.
Good. You're making me want to do a deep breath right now. Because it really is. It's amazingly helpful, and amazing how you don't really breathe when you're stressed.
Yeah.
In the heat of that moment. So cool to know that that's helpful for even our younger population.
Yeah, no, and relax your body. And it's amazing how sometimes we're walking around tense and we don't realize it. And when you really take the time to really listen to your body and where, what is it that you're feeling, and just take the time to, just be attentive to that and then try to solve it. It's it shows.
Yeah. A friend of mine that would tell me just like, hey, Sean, drop your shoulders. And I didn't realize. I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like my shoulders would be sore after a day and I didn't work out. It's just so much tension. So something to being aware of that. That's good. What about you? Like, obviously you implement the breathing. Have you ever dealt with some of this anxiety or any of these challenges? Maybe I know in the counseling world, you call it burnout. Has that ever been part of your story?
I think the blessing of my position is that I always say that one of the blessings of this job is that it has a beginning and it has an end. Mm. And that having that opportunity to always see either if it's a holiday coming or is it the winter break or if it's a spring break and then our summer breaks, I think that having those end time, in the forecast help me to know that there is an ending that's coming and my time will come. And I'm good at just, separating.
Good.
And just, not really, I'm not I've tried for many years. I think after I mastered it, just kind of leaving the job as a job. And even though these are people's lives and it sounds bad, and there's times where we can't detach it, sometimes there are some big cases that you just, bring with you and then you have to handle sometimes in the evenings and things like that. Not always, but for the most part, being able to say, okay, I'm clocking out, I'm home, and I need to take care of me and my family.
Well, is there some nugget of, that's actually really helpful for me. Is there a nugget of wisdom in there for a student? Like something about just, logging in for school, doing a certain amount of schoolwork, and then just maybe just like logging out and just making sure that there's a beginning and an end to your day? Because I can imagine a student can technically be online all day having to get stuff done, but not being productive the whole time.
Right. And I think that's kind of like where our world is now, where the lines are blurry, because, we do get emails 24 hours a day. We could get phone calls. We carry, our phone with us all the time. So if you want it on, you could be on all day. Mm-hmm. But I think it's kind of being purposeful in clocking out, checking out, having some fun time, really walking away from the computer, just even if you let not your phone also be in the computer, like have other outlets. And I know now it's limited, but, there's always, an instrument, music, outside, physical activity, something else that you can do to really just make sure that you're drawing those lines.
Really good. That's helpful. And just one other question I'm always asking a counselor when I meet them is, how do you prepare for crises? Like, obviously, it's hard to prepare for a pandemic, but what can someone practically do to say, man, I don't ever want to go through that again? Because I know for me, the anxiety went through the roof. There's just a couple bad days for me where the whole thing was affecting me and my state of mind. I think, man, I'd like to be better prepared for the next challenge that arises because we know they'll come. Do you have any advice to someone like myself?
I think knowing that it can happen. Having the expectations low. I think sometimes we have high expectations that, everything is rosy and, I have it under control. And I think knowing, releasing that control to, of course, God, knowing that, the world is in his hands, so I'm just here doing what I can as he directs. But having your expectations low, knowing that it can happen, so that way when it does, you're not necessarily caught by surprise and feeling like the rug got pulled out of from under you.
That's really good. That's helpful. I know as someone studying this field as well, one day I'll be a social worker just like you. Okay, so when I grow up, I want to be just like you, Damaris. But there's that concept I'm just so fascinated by, the post-traumatic growth. Right, that you can grow from trauma. As somebody who deals with this more regularly than me, can you explain that to our viewers or how that works? How do you grow from trauma?
I think it's seeing the opportunity as what have I learned from it? What can I do because there are some things, I was listening to someone who said there are things that happen because they were just meant to happen, like this pandemic. I had nothing to do with it. But there's times where we get into crisis because they were not willful in our part or something that we got into it because we were careless or we, went looking for it or however you want to say it. So I think that being prepared in the sense that there's something that I could learn from it, whether it's the way you handle it, the way you're reacting to it. But there's something that you could have done differently, maybe really taking the time to look back and okay, what are my takeaways? I think that especially in this time and for this season, not letting the time go without knowing that you had the opportunity to have a takeaway and not really either be conscious about what is your takeaway, whether it's something that you're grateful for now or something that you learned from this, or you were able to take on a new experience or have, a new activity that you learned. What is your takeaway? What maybe you grow closer to your faith or, having a takeaway, because there's always those opportunities. Even in trauma, you have the opportunities of having that learn. And then, be able to apply to someone else's life. Nothing happens in our life just for us to keep for ourselves. You could always be a blessing to someone else by having that testimony that you came out of it, that you have. What is it that you learned? Let me give that information to someone else so they know that there's hope. Because I think that ultimately that's what keeps us going is the hope that we have.
That's so good. I know my wife and I, we've been talking this week about how someday this will just be a story that we tell to our kids about the quarantine, because they're 3 years old, 2 years old, 1 year old. They won't remember it. And you just wonder, what kind of story do we want to tell? Was it just, I had a couple really bad days and then I kind of figured out a new normal and that was about it? Or is it what you said? Is it, hey, I learned some things about, I put a lot of my value in my success and how productive I was at work. And then when that productivity looked like it was collapsing under me, that was where I found my identity, what I thought I was worth. So I'm with you on that. I think I'm learning where to put my faith and my hope, not just in my productivity, but in something way bigger.
Yeah. And actually, and these will be days of reference for us, because again, when you're faced with that new challenge, you will be able to look back and say, when I had that challenge then, look, I came out of it. These are the things that strengthened me. These are the things that I was able to draw from. These were the people that were able to support me. This was my support system. These are the things that I relied on. And you could draw from that. I think that sometimes it's in those moments that we are able to look back and be able to draw from something that will give us that energy to move forward and know that we can, because we did.
So good. Yeah, I know. Identifying our resources, right? Seeing the kind of people we have around us, the kind of tools at our disposal, reach into our toolbox all the way down. It's really good. Well, Damaris, this was a very helpful conversation. I really appreciate that. I think I got some insight for myself too. And we'll have to do this again. And thank you for what you're doing on the front line. You guys are still working. You guys are still out there.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things about this job that I've learned for the past couple of years. And if there's one thing that I could give you is the flexibility. Being flexible is key. No 2 days are the same, whether you're in the building or outside the building, and just being able to adapt to those changes are what helps you in the job, doing the job, because you're not attached to one thing. You're not attached to one building. You're not attached to anyone. No things are always the same. So it's that flexibility, your ability to be flexible is the key.
Sounds good. All right. Well, hey, I really appreciate your time. And that'll do it for this recording. Thank you, Damaris.
All right. You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.